Good evening and welcome. My name is Chris O'Brien. I'm from the admissions office at Boston College, and you're at installment number 5 of 19 student panels that we're hosting throughout the month of April for the admitted class of 2024. All of you out there watching us and listening to us, congratulations on your admission to Boston College. The 5 of us on screen wish that we could welcome you to campus, but obviously things have gotten in the way. We're not all on campus, we're all home. We hope that you're home and safe and your loved ones are safe as well. What will feel normal in these uncertain times is talking about school, talking about college, and for the 5 of us tonight, talking about our home, Boston College. And although their senior year was interrupted by the crisis that we're dealing with nationally and globally, I thought it'd be a great point to bring us all together to talk a little bit about and reflect on their time at Boston College from beginning to end. What we're going to do tonight is in about 45 minutes, we'll have the students, I'll pepper them with a couple of questions just to show that we haven't scripted this in any way. I do have the question and answer option open for those of you that are out there if you'd like to send in a question or two. But let us get started because maybe we'll cover the ground that you want us to cover. So without further ado, I'd like some introductions. Why don't we go in order of first name alphabetically? So let that sink in for a second. And when you're introducing yourself, you don't have to say what year you are. You're all seniors. So in the place of saying what year you are, when you talk about where you're from and what you've studied and who you are, I'd like you to talk about who you'd like to thank. You've now made it to just about the end of your college career. Who gets the biggest thank you? Who gets the thank you note? The first one, the biggest one, to get you this far along the way at Boston College. So if the 4 of you could do that as an introduction, that would be great.
Great. Well, I can start since I'm Jay. And my name is Jian Zhu Valerio. I'm originally from Morristown, New Jersey, and I study operations management in the Carroll School of Management, and then I minor in medical humanities, health, and culture. And this is a great question. Okay, so I'm not just saying this because this is a program through admissions, but I would be completely lying if I didn't say that my biggest thank you goes out to the admissions program. So my BC journey starts as early as, because of the student admission program, where I attended Keith A. Francis Ahana weekend, which happened to be this past weekend. So sorry y'all got to miss it. But it was an opportunity where I got to visit BC and stay overnight for 2 nights, hear about the Ahana experience, Ahana meaning African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Native American. And it just meant a lot to me to be able to see the school, you know, so intimately and to have a school do that kind of outreach for me. And so ever since then, I've always had my heart out and seeking opportunities to work with admissions just because they really were there for me in trying to navigate this really stressful process. And so since then, I've been really involved in the admission program, doing everything from tours and panels to even having a leadership role. And along the way, I've gained my greatest mentors. I'm not just saying this to butter up Chris, but Chris is certainly one of my greatest mentors at BC, along with like dozens, not around 2 dozen of the admission counselors that have really just seen me grow since my freshman year all the way up until now. And so they've been some of the greatest coffee dates that I've had, to the people who I've cried to when I was, you know, Katie's out here on the line too, just regarding my roommate drama or just feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes, you know, as college can be a little bit crazy here and there. So I'm appreciative to have had a department here on campus beyond even just the professors who really got to see me grow. And I could really honestly say to be some of my greatest mentors and some of my best friends here on campus.
That was a wonderful, wonderful introduction. I don't know how many of you are going to top that one, but you can give it a try. Katherine, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Katherine Shine. I am also a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, studying economics and international studies on the pre-law track. And I'm originally from a small town in Westchester, New York, although my parents moved, so I'm now coming to you from New Jersey, northern New Jersey. This is a good question. As much as I would love to give the same answer as Gian, say that Chris was my biggest fan, I think that I would say that it probably has been my friends and the people that I've met here at Boston College, my peers that I've spent the most time with here. I've been fortunate enough to grow with a lot of the same friends that I've had since freshman year. I think something that BC does really, really well is kind of getting you super, super close with the people you live with freshman year. So I think that I'm one of probably quite a few people at BC who can say that they've had some of the exact same roommates across all 4 years. So I've had 7 roommates and we've lived all together in like different variations, different room types for 4 years. And all 7 of those roommates came from my freshman year dorm hall, which I think is something really, really unique and really, really special. And it's been amazing to see. I know a lot of us were kind of just stopping to think about that, especially in our last week of school that we had, to see how far we've come together, the things we've learned about ourselves, learned about one another, learned about just living together, being students and being citizens at Boston College and then citizens of like the greater world and what that means for when we're going to be graduating now. And it's been really just an honor and privilege to see all of them develop just as much as I have in my 4 years at Boston College. So I think they've definitely been some of my biggest influences in my time here.
Great, great. Thanks, Katherine.
Hey guys, welcome. My name is Luke Murphy. I am a senior, obviously, studying biology and theology on the pre-medical track. And I'm originally from Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is only about an hour away from campus, so I'm pretty local. And one of the, I guess, talking about professors broadly or people that I want to thank, but I think maybe I'll focus in on one professor specifically who's had a really, really big impact on my time at BC. His name's Jim Keenan. He's a Jesuit priest on campus, and he teaches ethics in the theology department. And he's just been a really big mentor for me. And so a lot of his focus within ethics focuses on bioethics. He's done a lot of work on HIV, AIDS, and ethics, and he teaches a class with that title that I took my sophomore year. I'm the TA for that class now, and we talk on the phone probably 2 or 3 times a week, just checking in, seeing how everyone is, in addition to getting a lot of sort of mentorship for him. He's written plenty of letters of recommendation for me for different internships and things like that. Yeah, and he's just been someone that I've always been comfortable talking to about any personal problems whenever I've had them, and I'm really lucky that I've been able to have this person in my BC experience that not only has been someone who's helped me grow academically, but also has been there to help foster like my own personal development throughout the past couple of years.
Great, thanks, Luke. Vinny.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Vincent Falcone. I'm a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences, pursuing a major in Italian and a minor in French. I'm from New City, New York, or Rockland County in the New York metro area. I think the person that I would have to say biggest thank you to, who fortunately, just before we were interrupted leaving campus, I did have the opportunity to say thank you to this person for a different reason, not for looking back all 4 years, but just in the moment, so that was good, would be Meyer Chambers. Meyer Chambers is a associate campus minister on Boston College, but he's also one of the directors for the music ministry that we have on campus. So as our nature being a Jesuit Catholic university, we're proud to offer the opportunity for students, however they see fit and willing to participate, to join in our Catholic liturgies. And I really found a strong sense of place and community. That was something that I was really looking for in my time coming into college. I felt that a lot of the friendships that I had coming into high school were good, but I was looking for that sense of really caring for one another, really going out of the way and just finding people that would have a common interest, but that we really would care for each other as a family, especially as, while I was only a 4-hour drive away from my home, that was still the farthest that I was going to be home for an extended period of time in my life. And I just wanted that sense of immediate people nearby and coming to me. And I had heard from an orientation in summer that you should really go find this person, Meyer. He just has such a welcoming soul, and he really wants to help you join something and find your place here on campus. So I would go to his office, and he would allow me to sit in his office, chat with him, and get to join the Liturgy Arts group, which has been one of the best decisions I've made in my college career, and what we have the opportunity with other students to celebrate our love for music, and not only Catholic liturgy on campus, but being able to provide service projects, go out and help people in Boston area, all around the country, being able to do different, seeing more insights into the campus community as well. And the reason I give him the biggest thank you is just he was always a person, a reliable shoulder that I could lean on for anything that I would need during my time, whether you'll learn upon coming through campus, there's a dining hall called Eagle's Nest on the second floor, which often gets overridden with students during the weekday lunch hours. And I would never have to go look for a table because I know I could always go into his office and he'd be there at his computer eating his food from home. But then there'd be a large table where other students that are in the group where we could gather as well. So it was just a place where I felt that I was always welcome. And on my good days, it was great to have it, but it was on those tough days in school as well that I was really fortunate that I had that space to be able to partake in. So a big thank you to him for that.
Great introduction. Great job, all of you. But Vinny brought up an interesting point that I want to ask, and maybe a couple of you can also chime in on. He talked about a really important decision he made early in his career that set the tone later in his career at Boston College. Can you guys look back to a decision you made pretty early on in your career that stayed with you right up until the end? Whoever's ready.
I can start. The thing that pops in my mind is that from very early on, I really recognized that I was just so darn lost. Like I had no idea what I wanted to study, what I wanted to do outside of my time, all this. And so the big thing that I really, from the very beginning, took a lot of comfort in was just asking for help, leaning into the BC community. And the biggest way I see that in terms of like when I think about major discernment, because that brought me a great deal of anxiety, was just going to events, going to informational meetings, speaking with professors, speaking with upperclassmen. There are so many opportunities to lean in people who know a lot more than you. And everybody, when you're a freshman, everybody knows more than you do, right? So you have all these professors, BC alum who are happy to talk about their passions here at BC. And so I remember from my very first week, just going to some of those informational meetings. I'm in the School of Management, so a lot of them happened to just deal with business because I wanted to figure out early on what I wanted to do. And what that meant was just going to all these little career fairs, these little informational meetings where it maybe just be 30 people and a BC alum presenting on, what their passions are right now, what they studied at BC, how they got their internships, where they are now. Maybe they're early on the gate, just a year out of BC, maybe they're 15 years and they're a seasoned veteran and the work that they do. And that just brought me a lot of joy and comfort in knowing that there's a real family here. There's this BC family that really wants to help you out and see you succeed in life. And that really just carried on moving forward, where I took that notion of always seeking out for help and learning more, being a lifelong learner, that I would take that to these coffee dates whenever, I had an upperclassman who I met through one of my extracurricular activities, asking them, what classes should I take? What extracurriculars really spoke to you? And that was something that I've really kept on going. And even to this day, as I'm still looking through, figuring out what I want to do post-grad, that's still a real big key to just figuring out what I want to do, is just asking for help. And I thank the BC community for being so welcoming in that regard.
I definitely agree with Jian's answer there. Honestly, one of the things that I wish I did more freshman year was seek out mentors. But something I think I vowed to do coming into college was just taking advantage of all the opportunities that were going to be presented to me and putting myself outside my comfort zone. So like I mentioned, I came from a really small school. I graduated in a class of 110 students. And we all kind of did a lot of the same things. We did the same extracurricular activities. We all played sports or did dance or whatever it was. We were all kind of just doing very, very similar things. And I really wanted to embrace the fact that BC had so many other things that I'd never been exposed to offer. So I definitely think I jumped into that freshman year, or tried to as much as possible. We have our large involvement fair, which happens in the first couple of weeks of school, which I think is a great, great asset for incoming freshmen, incoming students, or also just sophomores, juniors, if you're looking to get more involved, join a different club. And I had the opportunity to join just different things that I had never been part of. So I joined a Model UN club, which was really, really interesting to me because I'd never done Model UN in high school. And it was something that a lot of people in the club had been experienced with. So I was kind of I just dove in right there. I joined a pre-professional society for students who were thinking about going to law school, which is what I thought I wanted to do my freshman year. So just really a great way, like Jian was saying, to get mentors in my specific field of interest. And then also just in terms of classes as well, I started taking classes that were outside my major, outside my minor, classes that just sounded interesting, classes. It definitely took me until maybe like sophomore or junior year to build up the courage to take some of those really, really small discussion style classes. But I realized that those were going to be the places where I was going to have really interesting conversations, get outside my comfort zone, talk to people who were like pre-health majors or theology majors, just people who were just doing things that were so different from me at school. And I really just wanted to embrace all those opportunities. And I definitely could have embraced a lot more in my 4 years, but I think I'm definitely happy with the ones that I did take advantage of.
Both of you brought up an interesting point that I want to dig into a little bit more about how you join these organizations when you're a first-year student and you look up to the seniors. They're your mentors and they model great behavior. Well, that's you now. And do you feel that Boston College is that community culture where these are the things that seniors do? And are there examples in all of your lives where you've taken on that role of mentor, either formally as part of an organization or informally in a group or a hall or in a class? And are you comfortable with that? Does that just come with the territory, and have you really come to embrace it?
Sure. So I'll take this question.
Go ahead, Vinny.
Go for it, Vinny.
Luke,
go for it. No, you can go for it.
Okay, sure. So I'll take this question first, and hopefully I'll be able to pass it off with Luke some connecting points there. But no, I feel it really is a strong part of the campus community here, in that students really, if they sort of like look up to the upperclassmen mentors, I would say there is that sense of wanting to help, be that sort of mentor for other students. And I think it's something that for all of the students who are viewing this presentation this evening, and for those of you pre-recorded at a later date, if you think about like in your time when you were looking to go into college, how you have this sense that you have to do all these different activities, but maybe not just doing the activities. Of course, we hope you're doing them with passion and fervor, but when you're engaged in these activities that you have like goals or milestones that you want to set within them, you see yourself starting within it and possibly helping to change something for the better, or you want to go into like an executive board position or a president or cabinet sort of position, more of a leadership aspect. And I think that is a characteristic that really drives the student body. But for me, I really look back on my high school experiences, and I was starting to become a little distasteful and just trying to remove myself from that sense of we're only joining activities just so that we can be the leaders, the people on the executive board, the ones that get our emails published on the club website. And I really felt that the way that I've been able to be a strong advocate for just really embracing who I am and really enjoying what I love to do is when that time came, my junior year, and I had some friends who were already, I'll use the example in liturgy arts group, as they were going to do selection for executive board positions. They have president, vice president, treasurer, representative, chapel rep, etc. They asked me, Vinny, you're really involved. You love coming to all these events. Do you want to come and take on a position and join the leadership group for senior year? And I said, that does sound fantastic, but I think there's a lot of students who were younger than me who really enjoyed seeing such active engagement from the upperclassmen, even as they were doing more exciting things as they were about to graduate, that it's not necessary to show your level of interest in these clubs just by applying yourself in a title or a role or organization. Unlike me, I don't have that sort of title or role in the group. I just do what I do. I show up to Sunday masses. We have group dinners right beforehand. I go to all the rehearsals. I go to the activities, not because it's my obligation as a volunteer, or rather as a representative or an e-board member of the group. I just do it out of my own passion. I think that really speaks volumes to the students, that you can commit to something for 4 years, do it because this is who you are and what you really want to do. And it really just speaks a lot.
Great.
Yeah, I totally agree and echo everything that Vinny said. I guess the one thing that I would add is I always feel weird when I get to certain things that are supposed to be like milestones in one's life, and you're supposed to feel like you've accomplished something or feel older, or, because I would look at college seniors when I was a high school senior and think, they look older than I am, they look more put together, they can speak in front of groups of people, I can't do that, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like now that I'm in that spot, I know that I've grown and I recognize a lot of growth in the past 4 years. But I also think that I don't feel as mature and as confident and as developed as I thought everyone else looked when I was looking up at them as a high school senior, which I think is totally fine. And I think that's how life works. But I think one thing in terms of the BC community, when it comes to extracurricular involvement or even mentorship roles within academia or stuff like that, that there is such a strong sense of community that you don't need to feel like you're this really sort of strong developed leader and feel so confident about that, because I think that the community feel at BC creates spaces where that just sort of naturally happens. So Vinny mentioned community dinners with FLAG, and a lot of my extracurricular involvements will have dinners, or we'll have like lunches and like get-togethers and stuff like that. And it's usually seniors who live on campus. And one really cool fact about BC is that 95% of our seniors actually live on campus, on on-campus housing, which is really rare for a lot of universities, but points to sort of a really strong sense of community and a desire for students to live in that community and be really engaged with it. That seniors tend to host these dinners in their house, in their on-campus apartments or townhouses, or whatever it is. And I think that's stuff that I've done, and I've fallen into those roles, which again doesn't always have to be like a title within a club. But I think as you grow in your time at BC and as you get more and more involved in the community, people want to open up their homes, open up their kitchens to underclassmen and people joining clubs and sort of cultivate a sense of community, because at least from my perspective, that's why I sort of fell in love with BC and why I decided to stay here after I got here, is because of this sense of community. And now I feel as though I want to pass that on to underclassmen that are involved in the activities that I got involved in.
I just want to add too that there's a great deal of structure within BC that, while there's so much to take advantage of in terms of informal relationships, there's also lots that are based off of departments here on campus. So for example, the Office of First Year Experience is probably going to be an office that you're definitely going to be engaging with. I mean, all the way as beginning as with orientation. But then there's two programs there that I definitely want to highlight. And one of them is Ascend for girls, and then there's the brother aspect called Freshman League. And it's been even a really important part of my senior experience. So for me as a senior, I have a co-lead, and then we have 9 girls. And every week, even to this day, right before this meeting, I still check in with them on Zoom on Tuesday nights, because that was when we normally had our meetings. And it was just a really great check-in with the students, where we just asked them about their lives. We did highs and lows. We talked about like specific themes in like in tandem with the mission of Ascend and being a female empowerment group, talking about the things that just girls, go through on a university campus, particularly for their first year. And so even though as a senior, as a mentor, it really still felt like I was going through it too, and that we were hashing it out all together. And so that really speaks to Vinny and Luke's point that it really is just a community in terms of that. But there's also plenty of ways even beyond your freshman year. Then your sophomore year, there's a program called Stride. So as a junior, I led 8 sophomores, and it was a co-ed group now. And it was really awesome. Just again, I was a junior and a sophomore. We were so close in age. We were literally going through the same exact things that it just felt like a free-for-all gossip session every week. But we loved having that structure that, Wednesday nights, that was our time to really just get together and talk about what's going on in our lives and just take stock and make sure that we were all doing okay. And then, moving forward, junior and senior, there's just opportunities to give back. But like they said, it happens all very organically. And for as an upperclassman, it's so great being able to just break down my week, even with underclassmen, just because it's so validating. We're all still going through the same things. And to have people share so vulnerably the things that they're going on, it really just like adds to just the warmness of the campus for sure.
A question came up, and I want to address it in this way. Katherine, you talked about how you're really close to the girls that lived very close to you freshman year, and you've stayed very close all throughout. But for all of you, even you, Katherine, there's been an evolution of friendships and like a network of friendships that you've developed over the 4 years. So some of those people are people that were right around your freshman year, but maybe you've moved on from some of those people because you've joined clubs, or you've been this major, or you've had these experiences, and then you're part of all these different circles. Can one of you, maybe more of you, kind of describe like socially how you continue to multiply from the beginning of freshman year?
Yeah, definitely. I can start. I definitely think that's one of my favorite parts about BC, that I have friends, and I like to think of them just kind of like orbiting in different circles around me. But I have those friends that I go home to at the end of classes every day and who I love being able to like cook with and just talk about my day. And those are my roommates and some of my closest friends. But then I also have the friends who I'm in classes with who I would love to sit down with and have lunch or have coffee and just discuss some of the things that we've been talking about in class, discuss some of the things that have come up, and just kind of get a different set of eyes on things that we're all going through as seniors or even as just different class years, things that we're going through. And then you also have the people obviously who meet through clubs, and clubs do take up a lot of your time at Boston College. I think that's something that's really, really special at BC is how passionate students are about the clubs and the things that they're involved in. So you'll find that you have strong friend groups coming out of those clubs and out of those organizations. There's just another layer of friendships that you have in addition to any like mentorship relations you have. And it's just kind of a great way to be able to talk to different people, experience different people, and just have your opinions heard by a lot of different people on campus. There's so many people you can reach out to across all years. 9,000 students on campus. There's always someone new for you to talk to, and it's something that I've really, really enjoyed.
Can I ask you guys this? When it comes to academics, how are you better academically since you're a freshman? Can you look at certain things about either your approach or your methods, or, I mean, we hope that you're smarter than you were a freshman year, but how are you a better student than you were a freshman year?
I can start with this one. I have a funny story that I kind of like to tell. I finished high school. High school was pretty easy. I did well, and I'm sure like most of you guys, high school wasn't the most challenging thing, at least academically, in my life. And so I got to BC, and I was a little too confident, maybe thinking, oh, this will be a cakewalk. I'll do well in all my science classes. I won't have to study that much. Like it'll be fine. I had a general chemistry course, was my first ever class I took, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. freshman year. And our professor would give us weekly quizzes on Fridays. And the first quiz, I thought it would go super well. I didn't even study for it. It was on significant figures, which is literally like making sure you have the right amount of decimal points as you like go through a problem. It's like, how can anyone make significant figures hard? Professor Wolfman made significant figures hard, and I failed the first quiz, which was a pretty humbling experience. And I think made me realize that, one, I do need to study, and two, I need to change how I study. Because in high school, I basically sat in classes, would do whatever worksheet was given to me, turn it in, and that would prepare me enough to do well on tests, plus maybe a tiny bit more studying. By the time I got to college, each class only meets for about 2.5 hours every week. And then you're on your own. You have to do your readings, you have to study, all that kind of stuff. And I think particularly the way that my approach to learning and to school has changed throughout the 4 years, especially within my science classes, has been, it's less just about sitting down, having flashcards and memorizing processes that might happen in a cell or something like that. And it's more about, I think, recognizing how important it is to understand versus just memorize things, and doing so in a collaborative learning environment. So I think, I don't know what the rest of y'all's experience is with this, but there's a assumption that a lot of times STEM courses are really cutthroat and kids, steal each other's pencils during exams. And, there's all this crazy competitiveness around it, which thankfully that has not been my experience at Boston College. And I don't think it's really been anyone's experience, I would hope. So I've learned that my learning is more impactful when it's collaborative. So for all my science classes, I would have study groups with friends where we would sit, share notes, talk through processes so that we better understand it, so that when we have an exam, which aren't written to just regurgitate information, it's meant to see if you can apply what you've learned to different scenarios. We've explained it to each other, we've taught each other, and in doing so, sort of better retain that information for ourselves. So I guess to go back to your question, maybe my learning has changed insofar as I understand the importance of collaborative learning, and Boston College has been a space where that has sort of been able to grow, like that collaborative learning environment has been able to take place.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Anybody else, can they put their finger on how they've been a better student over the 4 years they've been at BC?
I'll go. I've been a better student over my 4 years at BC because I've had to think more independently. What I mean by that is coming into college, I knew I wanted to study Romance languages and particularly Italian. I can tell you that of all of my time over my 4 years, we've never had more than 6 Italian majors at one point during the school year. That's across all 4 grades. And on top of that, every other student has had at least a double major, which is not required. I'm not saying a lot of students do that. About a third the students at BC will pursue a double major, but they had some other interests like Italian economics or Italian history, and I was just Italian. So this liberal arts degree, this liberal arts major in a foreign language that isn't the most commonly spoken in the country or in Boston around the world. So it really put me on this island of, trying to navigate my resources. I felt the department was really helpful in giving me, there were interesting classes that they were teaching and the professors were just so welcoming and inviting, but it just felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again, reading the same literature. And I felt I couldn't actually have that connection, like say with some of my roommates. I'd come back to the dorm my freshman year and they're talking about what they learned in their macroeconomics class or what they learned about in their ancient civilizations class. And just the fact that they all speak English, that was the common language of instruction. They could at least learn to understand each other about what their different interests or topics were. I don't know what p-value is in statistics. I still can't tell you that now, but I at least learned about it from my roommate when he took it freshman year. In my case, it was trying to share with them what I was learning and what I was interested in. There was that barrier. There was a barrier that I never really faced before. And so it taught me that I had to learn to equip myself with the tools to be able to appropriately, I won't say break down the barrier, but find holes, find windows in it that allow people to come in, but still reinforce that wall that this is who I am, this is what keeps me strong, and this is what I really love to study, and I was able to continue with it even now through my final semester. I was really happy I stuck with my studies and my passions.
Can I ask this question of the four of you, and probably just a quick answer of from each of you? Which of the years from freshman to senior year was the most fun, and which one was the toughest?
I can easily answer. I'll go first. Most fun year, sophomore year for me. I'll say quickly because we got to move down the lower campus, so more social life, more activity. That was a blast. Junior year was the hardest because I went abroad, and that transition to come back, that returning to American life. I was really happy when I was abroad in Italy, and I was really feeling that abroad sickness coming back in the spring.
Fair enough. Anybody else?
I think my best year was probably my junior year. I had the opportunity to live off campus, and because so many of my friends were going abroad, I actually switched roommates in the middle of the year because I didn't go abroad. So I lived with 6 different people and just really enjoyed having the experience of having our own house and being able to get closer while we were off campus, like a lot of other juniors are. I think my toughest year was definitely my freshman year. I really, really struggled just to adapt. I'd never spent any time away from home, so this was kind of a little bit of a shock to my system. And I definitely struggled finding the art of balance in all things. So in classes I was taking a lot of really econ heavy, really math heavy classes my freshman year, which I shouldn't have been doing. And that was my first semester as well, and just kind of struggling with being away from home for the first time. So that was definitely the year that I struggled the most. That being said, it definitely got better second semester, but I think first semester my freshman year.
Jian, what do you think?
Yeah, very similar. Freshman year was by far the worst. There is no comparing it. And I think it just was because I was super duper surprised by how difficult it was to just literally upend your life. Like your comfort system back at home with all your friends, your family just wasn't there anymore, just like that. And so that was really tough for me to begin with, and definitely started getting better. And so that's why I will say probably my best year, like Vinny, was sophomore year, where it was just like a complete load off. Like I just started really feeling like my groove and really figuring out who my friends were, what I wanted to study, what I wanted, the clubs that really spoke to me. I always say speak to me because that's just how I think. The clubs that really I started to find myself in came through very clearly my sophomore year. And so I really started to get a foothold, and it just got way more fun from there.
Well, I probably should have told you this beforehand. I thought I did. But there's a lot of about to be freshmen listening right now and watching this, and you've just terrified them. So let me ask this question, and Jian, you can start, but any of you can sort of fill in. Is there any advice you have for freshman Jian, for freshman Vinny, for freshman Luke, or freshman Katherine, that now that you've lived through 3 years at BC, if you could go back in time and talk to that young man or young woman, what you tell them to do, or how to ride out these difficult times, or how to be ready for that first quiz in significant figures? I mean, is there any advice that comes to mind that you'd give your freshman self?
So to add more context as to why I was just a chicken with its head cut off my freshman year was because I put myself in that position. So high school me, I really just wanted to make myself the strongest college applicant possible. There was nothing more than that. It was so meaningless. So by the time I get to my first semester freshman year, that's kind of what I was programmed to do. So when I was hit with this completely unstructured lifestyle where now I'm filling up my calendar from bottom up, I thought, well, I'm just going to do what I'm used to. And that's completely just jam packing my schedule. Never really realizing if that was the thing I wanted to do, if that was a club that I really enjoyed, or if this is the people I really wanted to spend my time with. It was kind of just doing because I didn't know what else to do. And so by the end of my first semester freshman year, I was so burnt out, right? Just going from club meeting to the next, studying my butt off because I also didn't know what an A in university looked like, right? But after first semester freshman year, I really learned a lot from that. I realized, oh, I didn't need to spend so much time studying for that. Maybe that was a time I could have gone to see a professor, or maybe I should have leaned into the girls on my freshman floor a little bit more rather than passing off an opportunity to get lunch with them and trying to get an extra 40 minutes in studying. I realized the things that I went wrong. And so that's why when I said at the very beginning, something that I've since set in stone and has carried through the rest of my 4 years was leaning into everybody else and recognizing when I needed help. And so that's the big thing I would say for freshmen is don't ever hesitate to ask your professor for help, to tell your roommate something if you're, overwhelmed. You're going through university for the first time, just like your peers are. Your professors can empathize, your mentors can empathize, and they're really here for you to make sure that you succeed. And so that's just something I didn't do so well my first semester freshman year, that if I could go back and just shed off the anxiety by speaking about it, I think it would have gone a long way.
Yeah, Jian, that's a beautiful answer. I think something that I'd follow up with is what I would tell myself freshman year would be just recognize that college is not high school, sort of academically, as I had mentioned earlier, but also in terms of social life, in terms of extracurricular involvements. And I think shedding the expectation of what's cool or what's the good thing to do. I don't even know how to phrase this. No one really cares what you do in college. So do what you want to do in college. And I think not worrying about what one might expect you to do, or like I said, what's a cool activity to get involved in the things that you're passionate about, because there's so many people here. You're going to find other people that are passionate about what you're passionate about on this campus. And once you get involved in those things and meet those people, you're going to be so much happier, which again works with extracurricular involvements, with academics, but also socially. And Jian talked about coffee dates, and I think someone in the question thing asked sort of clarifying coffee dates, which is something that I when Jian said it, it was just sort of a thing in my mind. I didn't think twice about it, but I guess it's weird to think that people don't just randomly ask out people on coffee dates. There's been people that I've had plenty of friend crushes on campus before that I've just been hey, we should go to Hillside, which is my favorite spot on campus. It's a little cafe on lower campus. We should go to Hillside and grab coffee and just chat and learn more about each other in a friendship way. And that's something that happens. And I think shedding an expectation of, oh, that's weird, or, oh, I can't do that. And just saying, you know what, no, this is a place where I want to get to know this person, and it's not weird to ask someone to go get coffee. And I think getting rid of those expectations for me freshman year would have set me on the path to developing the real sort of intentional deep friendships that I have a lot sooner than I did.
A question came in about how social life sort of changes over 4 years. As a freshman, you're mostly on campus and you're meeting new friends. As a senior, you're 21. You can go any place you want in the city with your friends and have a really classy dinner and a glass of wine. And those are just the beginning and the end. I'm sure there's a lot of stops in the middle. But can you guys address sort of how that evolves over your 4 years? Just the kind of things that you do with your time, with your friends on campus and maybe off campus?
sort of like to think my time with my friends and social life while I was at BC is almost like the experience I'm having of my 22 years I've been alive so far. Where, for example, like freshman year is sort of like your childhood years, your infancy, where you're supported by your parents and you're doing your thing in your comfortable environment that you know. And then sort of as I got to like sophomore year and then junior year, especially when I went abroad, that's when you sort of want to go away. You start branching out. You go away to college. You go away to different things. You sort of like make your own and forge your own, make your own path, forge it, if you will. That was what it felt like for me sophomore year and junior year in terms of going out. We would go out and explore the city. We would go see our other friends who were at other schools in Boston or in Massachusetts or in the surrounding areas as well, and just really, finding what you want to do. And then I found as senior year, yes, Chris, you mentioned you turned 21. Sure, there's a lot of fun things that are available to do in Boston. That's why it's called America's College Town. But I felt it's almost like back to that analogy of regular life, that you feel you want to get away from family, you want to get away, you want to like have that own sort of path in what you want to do, but you sort of return back to your family, like you yearn for it, you crave for it. I would found we would go out like say my senior year, but then we really just sort of retreated to going back to our room and hanging out and socializing. That was just it was those great friendships that we really loved, and we found a healthy balance in being able to socialize in a greater Boston area, in a greater BC campus, and in my room in 105. It was just a lot of fun.
I'm sitting with four seniors. It's inevitable to talk about the next chapter. I know because of current conditions and situations, maybe not everything's set, but maybe the plan is there. So if all four of you can talk a little bit about the plan when somehow you get some piece of paper showing that you're finished at Boston College, what's next?
I can start with that. So we didn't really talk much about BC's Jesuit Catholic identity, but that sort of ties into what I'm going to be doing next year. I'm going to be volunteering, doing a year of service with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, which is, like I said, a year of service program where people live in community with other people doing Jesuit Volunteer Corps in a bunch of different cities across the US. And there's a couple international placements too that people can do. And you live in community with other Jesuit volunteers. You share sort of like a food budget. It's a year of service, so you don't sort of make a lot of money or anything like that, but then you get a service placement where you work with a community organization in the city that does work with some sort of vulnerable population. And the Jesuit part of the Jesuit Volunteer Corps is because there's a big emphasis on reflection. So with your community mates, what you do is you'll have weekly nights where you sit and reflect on the service that you do and see how that's changed you, how this experience is going to impact you going forward, and what you're going to do with the service experience that you've gained throughout the year. And I think that really mimics, and the reason why I was drawn to it is because it mimics a lot of what's happened at Boston College. So one of the clubs that I was involved in was For Boston, which is the largest service club on campus. And in addition to doing service in the city at the same placement every week, every student comes back and they have a 1 hour a week reflection group with the other students that are at their volunteer placement. And so I've loved that sort of combination of service and reflection. So it's action and then thinking about what that action means for you, for the community that you're involved in, and then what you're going to do going forward. And so I'll be in Milwaukee next year at a community health center doing work with undocumented folks and refugees, which I'm really, really excited about. And then eventually I'll go to medical school. But as of right now, I'm doing JVC next year, which I'm really, really excited about.
Great. Thanks, Luke. Vinny, why don't you go next?
Sure. So at BC, we instill in students, I'll start by saying it this way, we instill in students to ask themselves 3 questions. Sort of this idea of in Jesuit nature and Jesuit education to reflect and think about reflect upon your time and your experiences that you have. So 3 questions loosely that go like this. What are you good at? What do you like to do? And what does the world need you to become? And so as I've been thinking about those 3 questions, again, liberal arts major, foreign language, what do I really want to go with this? I found the skills I took from my foreign language degree are applicable to a variety of different situations. And so how do I narrow it down? And I really enjoyed with a lot of the different experiences and the different clubs that we have on campus at Boston College, where you get to work alongside the people that are actually helping you. What do I mean by that? Working alongside the admissions counselors, the student admission program. When I went abroad and then I returned, I really wanted to reciprocate that power of international higher education. So I became a global mentor in the Office of International Programs. programs. I was really interested in helping students. I was good about planning and logistics, about course schedules and whatnot. So I had applied and was interested at one point in being an academic advisor. And so you see that sort of route and where I was going. And I decided that I really want to help students. It's what I like to do. I was really blessed by the help that I received from many of the administrators that are here on campus. And I think that's part of that Jesuit education, to love, to live, and to serve, and to help others. So starting this summer, I'm going to be going into graduate school full-time for higher education to return and work at a university in a variety of different capacities, just to best serve a growing and more complex student body.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Vinny. Kathryn, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so my plans are definitely a little bit less formulated for post-graduation, but I definitely echo a lot of what Luke and Vinny were saying about reflecting. I spent a lot of my, specifically second semester of this year, thinking about what it was that I wanted to do. I mentioned earlier that I'm on the pre-law track and have been basically for all 4 years that I've been in college, so I always plan on going straight to law school after school. And that was something that I definitely was still thinking about up until just a few months ago. But I ultimately decided that I would rather take some time off and just make sure that law school is what I want to do before I invest the time and the money into going into that. I'd rather go in with a very, very targeted view of what I want to do. So the plan is to work as a paralegal or legal aid for the next year or two. I also had a really great experience this semester. I took a class offered through BC. It was an environmental law class. And it's actually taught by 2 current law students, both of whom are third-year law students at Boston College Law School. And it was just a really great opportunity for me to be able to talk to current law students. Both of them actually decided ultimately to take time off before going to law school as well. And they honestly did steer me a little bit in that direction. I think I would have come to the same decision regardless, but they both are huge advocates of just making sure that it's what you want to do and then coming in with a more targeted view of what kind of law you want to practice and why it is you want to be a lawyer when you graduate. So those are my plans.
And Jian, finally.
Yeah, so after interning for general electric healthcare for 2 summers, I ultimately signed on for their 2-year rotational program, which I'm really excited about. And something that actually just especially was really a proud moment for me was just recently there in the news that together with Ford, they're doing the largest effort of creating ventilators, which I thought was really cool to be a part of that team. So how it all began was I really have this passion for healthcare. I mentioned that I minored in medical humanities on top of being a business student. And so when General Electric Healthcare came, they came to campus 7 times my sophomore year for different events, whether that was General Electric night, where they talked about the different careers there, or a case competition that they had. It really just opened the door for me to just really see what they were about post-grad. And the thing that excited me most was that there's a huge BC alum family over there. My boss is actually a BC alum. The entire Boston team is BC alum, naturally. So it's just nice to know that there's going to be a family when I get there. And what excites me too about it is that it's a 2-year rotational program. So every 6 months I move to a different city. I hope to start out west. My hope is California and eventually maybe make my way back to New York. And I think it's really just a testament to the Career Center for just exposing me to the fact that, you know, these companies are here multiple times to have these low touch points with students to really just see, you know, if you could see yourself in their shoes 4 years from now. And so I've been fortunate to have had so many experiences with them to now sign full time.
The final question I have, and it was spurred on by a question that someone submitted, is one that could be pretty emotional. I saw all of you guys before you left about 3 weeks ago, and it wasn't a pretty scene. Seniors at Boston College go through a lot of great traditions and events and have time to really contemplate and reflect on what has happened for 4 years. And obviously the crisis that the country was going through prohibited that. And I mean, I don't want to speak as an administrator here, although I am wearing the shirt. You know, it was the right thing to do. But if you got another day back on campus, if you had a chance to come back, or maybe just the times that you've been gone, maybe something's come to mind that you know you're really going to miss. Can one or two of you offer up some things about, you know, now that you've had some time to really reflect on what has happened at Boston College, what are you going to miss about your time with us at BC?
Yeah, you're right. That is an emotional question, Chris. So one of the things that I'm super grateful for with like technology and Zoom is that I have gotten to stay in contact with all of my friends, with kids in my classes. Jian talked about Ascend, the group for first year women to be mentored by upperclassmen women. I'm a mentor in Freshman League, which is the same thing, but for male first year students. And so, I've been able to keep in contact with everybody, but I think the more and more that I've like talked with friends and seen friends, the thing that I'm going to miss the most is just like the random run-ins that you have with people, and the fact that we were all in an environment and in a space where at any time in the day you could sort of just randomly run into, I mean, in addition to scheduling out coffee dates or lunch dates or whatever, you could just randomly run into a really good friend and have a conversation or say, hey, let's go sit and chat. And I think just the missed opportunity for spur of the moment talks, run-ins, I think I'm really going to miss. I mentioned Hillside earlier, saying it was my favorite spot on campus. I 100% mean that that's my favorite spot on campus. It's like 90% of my personality when I'm at school. And so if you go to BC, you should get coffee there a lot. But just sitting there, running into people, really, really makes it feel like a home and a community to know that you're going to be in a space and get to see people that you love and care about all the time. And I think just knowing that I'm not going to have that space again is something that I'm really going to miss. So yeah, if I could go back to VC for another day, I would plop down on Hillside, order a nice coffee, and talk to all my friends again.
Anybody else want to add before our time runs out?
I can add. So I know I began by saying that I was super duper overwhelmed my freshman year because I was, jam-packed my calendar with all these activities, but I'm gonna miss that the most. Like it was a good problem to have. I used to say, I don't think I'll ever be as busy in my life as I was as a college student, and I will live by that. And that's because there are so many things that you can get involved in at BC, and really feel like I felt very defined by the things I was able to give to BC, like the student organizations I was a part of, the service component of BC. Like, I just felt like as soon as everything went away, right, that we got sent home, and of course we still have these connections, like Luke said, I miss the structure. I miss all the things that you get to go from one point to the next. Maybe it was the 4 hours you spent in the city of Boston serving in an organization called For Boston, like Luke said, or maybe like Vinny, that opportunity on Sunday Mass to sing with your peers, and it'd be such a special moment. Or with the student mission program, us to be able to do programming face to face with admitted students like you. Those are all things that I'm going to miss, that we'll never get to relive again, right? Because there won't be opportunities like that to engage at that level of commitment outside of university. And so that's why I'm excited for you guys to be able to continue that, the things that you're most passionate about at BC, for sure.
Because they're all on the line, we're super excited about the new class, the class of 2024. Many of them are talking to us right now. The only thing about it is that they come at the expense of losing the class of 2020. We finally got you guys perfected. You've done all the BC things. You've adapted to the mission. You've excelled academically. You've made friends socially. You've done all things the right way. And for all of you, I've known you since you were younger. And to see how you've perfected yourself in the way that you've done, not without mistakes and not without twists and turns, but to think that you've made it this far. I mean, for me and for all of the administrators that have watched you, we're so proud of what you've been able to do. But again, we have to lose you in order to get another group of students coming to us. That's how this works. But I know with the four of you, this won't be the last time I see you. It might be hopefully not in a courtroom, but hopefully it's some real social fun way at a football game or something like that, where we get to connect. And I feel like through us, through our office, and through our many friends that we have mutually, we'll always stay in touch. It's really fun to be able to catch up with you guys. I think you offered a lot of great information to the students that were with us. Thanks so much for paying attention and staying with us tonight. Tomorrow night, yet another installment of the Student Admissions Program virtual panels. Tomorrow is classes teachers and homework. We're going to be talking about the academic culture and offerings at Boston College. That's going to be our focus. But who knows what we'll talk about? That's the funny thing about these things. For my panelists, great job. Thanks so much. Stay well. And hopefully we'll catch up very soon. So good night, guys. And thank you all for paying attention tonight. Good night.